Hey guys, welcome back to Minecraft The Lost Journals. Today we'll be reading chapter 13, which is titled Lies and Soup. It starts on page 116 and goes to page 123. If you guys have enjoyed this novel so far, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more Minecraft The Lost Journals. Without further ado, chapter 13. Is that architect coming over tonight? The cross voice game came out of the attic. Grandma Dia was spinning wool in her small bedroom, which she liked to do in the afternoon when the light was just right. All the architects are coming over, Grandma, Allison said. She liked teasing her grandma, knowing exactly whom she was talking about. Max's eccentric Uncle Nicholas and her grandparents knew each other from a long time ago, but didn't seem to have been friends. Their time together had apparently been filled with a lot of arguing, but they never talked about the details. I'm not coming down if he's coming over. You'll come down, Grandma. Dad is cooking mutton. There will be pie. There was silence. Pumpkin? Pumpkin, Allison confirmed. All right, then, she said, like she always did. Later that night, Allison broached the topic yet again. When did you two meet? It had to be way before Dad was born, she said, and her grandma was finishing off her second piece of pie. It is impolite to ask a lady about her past, Grandma said primly. You and your lady stuff, Uncle Nicholas said. He focused on the kids, a wicked grin on his face. He had long, wild white hair, and his hands were calloused from years of building. He had kind blue eyes, and Allison had always liked him. Ask her anything she doesn't want to answer, and she'll say it. It's impolite to ask a lady that. Never fails. Grandma Dia looked like she was about to hit him. That is untrue, and it's impolite to spread rumors about a lady. Then she turned redder as the rest of them laughed. She dabbed her face with a napkin. Your uncle and I, she said, speaking directly to Max, as if Nicholas weren't there, went to school together. We had some of the same friends. He introduced me to your grandpa. She focused on Allison with the last point, which I admit I appreciated, but he's never been my favorite person. We have a pact, Nicholas said, winking. There are secrets. No, one can never know. What did I say about spreading rumors? Grandma said. Do not put ideas in the children's heads. I could tell them the truth, he teased. Then they wouldn't have to wonder. You promise, she said sternly. She got up stiffly, turned her back to him, and said a polite goodbye to the rest of Max's family. She took her cane and gave a pointed look at Uncle Nicholas, then limped heavily out of the room. They heard her slow, plodding footsteps climb the attic stairs. Your grandma holds a grudge like you wouldn't believe, Nicholas said, watching her go. He smiled as he said it. Max and Allison speculated, of course. Had they once been in love? Did he leave her at the altar? Were they secretly related? They tried to figure out what kind of cousins they would be if Max's uncle and Allison's grandmother had gotten married, but it was too confusing. It doesn't have to be romance, Max said thoughtfully. Maybe there was a cheating scandal at school and she covered up for him. Or she tore his blueprints and then retaliated and shaved all of her sheep. We'll probably never know, but I am sure that they were once best friends, Allison said. She'd seen the same amusement on Max's face when he infuriated her just for fun. Allison shook her head to clear it out of her memory as she approached Max. He sat on the bridge in the hub, morosely swinging his dangling foot over the lava. Allison damped her impatience and went to sit beside him. Idly, she wondered if their shoes would fall off and burn away into the lava below, but that was possibly the least of their problems. When did he disappear? She asked. Couple of weeks before your tree blew up, she said miserably. Couple of weeks, she said thoughtfully. You mean around the time you almost drowned? He winced. Yeah. I can't believe how you knew all along who we were looking for and you didn't tell me. And why isn't the rest of your family here if he's missing? Why is your job why is your job to do? He sighed and hung his head. You were right, you know. He's a terrible enchanter. It was his hobby, though. He loved it more than anything. That's not, she started, but he kept talking. I wanted to learn from him, but he wouldn't teach me, and my mom really didn't want me to learn. Said I needed to learn architecture instead. So you snuck out so he could teach you? Allison said. Max is pretty predictable. Yeah, he wouldn't let me try anything, though. So one night I broke into his cabin and tried to test one of the enchanted helmets. The drowning? Allison said, understanding. Max nodded. I thought it had a water breathing enchantment on it. Instead, it weighed me down and I couldn't take it off. I barely survived, and they all thought I was dead. When I came home, Nicholas was gone. Mom said he left. Max's voice hitched for a moment, but he kept talking. I went to the cabin and found it like that. I tried to get as many of his journals as I could, but most of them were destroyed. I wanted to find him. Then your family. Well, then you came to live with us. And Mom wouldn't let me mention him, even when I told her about the cabin. Why didn't you just tell me? She asked. What's more exciting? I found a journal from a mysterious enchanter. Let's figure it out. Or my mother drove my uncle away after I took his helmet and almost killed myself with it. Let's figure out the other stuff he's tried to invent. Max hung his head. And I was afraid you'd tell my mom. But you didn't think I would tell her we were following plans from an unknown author who was far too fond of spider eyes? Allison sighed. You could have trusted me, Max. I know. I don't even know if he'll come back if we find him, or if Mom will let him. She's still pretty mad. Does she know he's gone to the Nether? Allison asked. Surely she would be worried about him if she knew he was there. He doesn't even talk about him anymore. She hates him. Not only does she think he almost killed me, but after he disappeared, Dad had to move temporarily to the village to take over the big project Nicholas was working on. She blames him for everything. That's why your dad left, and why no one will talk about why, she said, realization dawning. Allison thought his parents might be somewhat justified in their emotions, but no one should be exiled from their family, and they definitely shouldn't be left in the Nether. We could get him out of here, but we don't have to bring him back to your place. He can move. Better to live somewhere else in the overworld than here. I don't know how to find him, he said miserably. I didn't even know we'd gotten so close. Max, we weren't close. He beat us here by weeks. You lost, what, a few hours of time from when we met Freya to now? Nothing is different, except I know the truth. They sat in silence until Allison couldn't take the heat pricking her skin anymore. Uncomfortable and irritated at their situation and at her friend, who looked like he was settling into feel sorry for himself for a good hour or two more. She stood up carefully on the bridge. I still can't get over the fact that you pulled me to the Nether and you never told me why. I couldn't, he began, not looking at her. No, Max, she said, smacking his shoulder and making him look at her. You could. Do you know why my parents died? Do you know exactly why they died? The creeper, he said, uncertain. No, it wasn't the creeper, she said, not directly. We don't have a lot of creepers around the farms and ranches. Haven't you noticed? They're mainly in the woods. Mom and I had a fight. She said there were some sheep lost in the woods, and she wouldn't let me go with her because of the creepers. I told her I could handle it, and she said no. She said I was too young. I insisted I could help. I protected the sheep from wolves and zombies and stuff. I could deal with a creeper. I got upset and told her I didn't need her anyway, and that I was going to live at your house instead. I left, but I just walked around in the woods for a while, feeling sorry for myself. When I wandered back near the house at sundown, I came face to face with a creeper. I panicked, and I ran. I ran toward my house, then realized what I was doing, and ran past it instead. I heard it detonate behind me. She stopped, unable to speak for a moment. She took a deep breath. I came back. The tree was mostly destroyed. Family were gone. But that's not your fault, Max said. I led the creeper to the house. But that's not just it, she said. My problem was, she was right. I wasn't strong enough to take on a creeper. I keep wondering, was my sudden running away what triggered the creeper? I'll never know. But Mom told me I was weak, and she was right, and I hate that about myself. I'm sure she didn't mean. Every time someone told me I wasn't ready for something, I was afraid they were right, but I didn't expect you to have faith in me. We're stuck in the nether, and you didn't trust me to tell me the reasons why. Max, if you don't have faith in me, I don't have anyone left. She got up then and stalked away. Max scrambled to his feet. Allie, don't. I'm sorry. The door to the great hall slammed shut. Freya walked up behind him. What was all that about? Did you make up? Not even close, he said, frowning at the door. I think it's worse now. She's really mad. What did you do? He thought for a moment. I don't think it's me, actually. Not this time. We need to let her cool off. Think she's going to the storage room for some food? Allison was in the great hall. Beyond that was the storeroom with the secret door, and beyond that, the nether. No, I don't think she wants soup, he said, and went off at a run, then pulled up fast, grasping at his hip. Oh no, where's Bonebane? Bone what? Freddie asked. My sword, my gold sword, he said impatiently. I had it during the fight with the skeletons. It wasn't with me when I woke up. What did you do with it? Oh, right, Freya said, looking at his hip, as if the sword were there, and she just hadn't spotted it yet. I think Bunny Biter may have taken it when she was cleaning the library of bones. You think? He asked. How can you know that? I was preparing a healing potion at the time, she said, raising her eyebrows meaningfully. Relax. I know where she hides bones. You keep an eye on Allison. She went off at a run back toward the library stairs. Max ran off in the other direction. Please, want some soup? He begged Allison mentally. Just some soup? I'll even make it for you. The great hall enveloped him in the heat and light when they burst through the door, but he ran on, wondering who in the world would have a grand meal in a furnace. He got to the storage room door, closed his eyes, hoping to see Allison sitting at the table, angrily telling a bowl of mushroom soup how bad a friend he had been. He'd offer to listen instead, and they would laugh. It would be a touching moment they could tell his mom about when they got out of this mess. He opened the door and found what he had actually suspected. It was empty. The secret door was ajar, the torches flickering down the tunnel. Allison, come back, he shouted. There was no answer. Max looked impatiently over his shoulder to see if Freya had returned, and then rushed to the window. He wanted to run after Allison, but he was unarmed and knew he'd be next to useless without his sword. Reaching the window, he looked out and saw a hole appear in the canyon wall. Allison stormed out. It felt to Max as if it were night, but the light remained the same, bleak illumination coming from the lava and glowstone. At least there weren't any of those screaming fire creatures, Max thought. Then a skeleton entered the canyon. Its head swiveled, and its empty, dead eyes stopped on Allison. It raised its sword and began walking toward her. That wraps up chapter 13. I hope that you guys enjoyed. And if you did, hit that like button, and I will see you next time.